Hey there, SPM biology crew. Welcome to a special explainer where we're going to make the whole process of urine production super clear for your exams. So forget those confusing diagrams and heavy textbooks for a bit. Today, we're taking a deep dive, an animated trip right inside the kidney. All right, let's get into it. I mean, it seems pretty simple, right? You drink water and eventually, well. But behind the scenes, your body is running this incredibly complex, super high-tech factory. And today, you've got a full access pass. We're going to see exactly how it all works. So first up, let's meet the management. We're talking about the urinary system, which is basically your body's 24/7 nonstop cleanup and balancing crew. And here they are, the absolute stars of the show, your two kidneys. Just think of them as master filters. See the big red tube? That's the renal artery, and it's bringing all the blood that needs cleaning into the kidneys. Now look at that blue tube heading away. That's the renal vein, carrying all the freshly purified blood back out to your body. And that yellowish tube at the bottom, that's the ureter, the exit path for all the filtered out waste, which we now call urine. So what are the kidney's two main responsibilities? You'll definitely want to remember these for your exam. First, you've got excretion, which is just a fancy way of saying it gets rid of toxic waste like urea. And second, there's osmoregulation. This is all about balancing the water and salt levels in your body, keeping everything just right. All right, so we've seen the big picture. Now it's time to zoom in. I mean, way in. We're going down to the microscopic level to meet the real workhorse of the kidney. Say hello to the mighty nephron. You have over 1 million of these tiny little factories in each kidney. Now, I know this diagram looks kind of complicated, but don't worry about it. Just think of it as our map for the next few minutes. We're going to start at that little ball of tangled tubes on the top left and follow this long winding road all the way to the end. Every single step of urine formation happens right here. Our journey starts right here, at this tangled ball of capillaries called the glomerulus. It's nestled inside that cup-shaped structure, the Bowman's capsule. This whole thing is our first stop, the high-pressure filtering station. It's basically a super, super fine sieve. So, once the liquid gets filtered, it starts its journey down this long, winding highway called the renal tubule. We're going to visit each part. First, the proximal tubule, right after the capsule. Then we'll go down that long U-shaped dip, the loop of Henle. And finally, the distal tubule, just before it all flows into the collecting duct. So, you ready for some action? Let's break down the very first and maybe the most dramatic step in making urine. This is where the serious separation begins. The official name for this process, and this is a key term you need to know, is ultrafiltration. It's exactly what it sounds like, filtration that happens under incredibly high pressure, which literally forces all the small stuff out of the blood and into the nephron for processing. But where does this high pressure even come from? Well, this is a brilliant design and a classic exam point. The blood vessel that enters the glomerulus, the afferent arteriole, is wider than the one that leaves, the efferent arteriole. Just imagine a 4-lane highway suddenly squeezing down into a 1-lane road. You'd get a massive traffic jam, right? Well, that backup creates intense pressure inside the glomerulus. And that's exactly what we need for this filtration to work. So, what actually gets squeezed through the sieve? All the small molecules, things like water, glucose, amino acids, salts, and of course, the waste product, urea. And what gets left behind in the blood? The big stuff. Red blood cells and large plasma proteins are way too bulky to fit through the filter, so they just continue on their journey in the bloodstream. Okay, so we've filtered pretty much everything small out of the blood, but wait a minute. We threw out a lot of good stuff, like glucose. Not to worry though. Step 2 is a full-on rescue mission. This next process is called selective reabsorption, and the name tells you everything you need to know. The body selectively takes back or reabsorbs all the useful things that it accidentally filtered out. Your body is incredibly smart and efficient. It doesn't just throw away the good stuff. The main recycling center is that first part of the tubule, the proximal tubule. And here is an absolutely crucial point for your exam. 100% of all the glucose and amino acids are actively pulled back into the blood right here. The body also pumps back most of the sodium ions. And as you know in biology, wherever salt goes, water is sure to follow through osmosis. Next, the fluid goes down the loop of Henle. Think of this part as the water conservation department. As the fluid travels down the loop, water gets pulled out. As it travels back up, salts are actively pumped out. It's a really clever system that lets the body fine-tune exactly how much water it needs to save, which, again, is a key part of that osmoregulation we talked about.
So we've filtered the blood, and we've reclaimed all the good stuff. What's left? Well, just one final cleanup to make sure absolutely no waste gets left behind.
This last step is called secretion, and it's pretty much the exact opposite of reabsorption. Instead of pulling things out of the tubule, the body actively moves any leftover waste products, like certain ions or even drugs, from the blood back into the tubule. It's like a final quality control check before the fluid is officially called urine. So how does your body control how much water it reabsorbs? This is where osmoregulation gets really cool, and it's all about a hormone called ADH. Let's say you haven't had enough to drink, your blood gets a bit more concentrated. Your brain, the pituitary gland to the specific, senses this and releases more ADH. This hormone travels to the kidneys and basically tells them to become more like a sponge for water. The result? More water gets reabsorbed back into your blood, and you produce a small amount of dark, concentrated urine. Your body is just trying to save water. And that is the entire process. I know it's a lot to take in. So let's lock it all in with a super fast revision session. Just remember the 3 key steps from this chart. First, ultrafiltration happening at the glomerulus. Second, reabsorption, happening mostly in the proximal tubule. And third, secretion, which is the final cleanup. So filter, reclaim, and expel. You got it? So what's actually in the final product? Well, healthy urine is mostly water, urea, and some salts. Now, what should never be in there? Red blood cells, big proteins, and especially glucose. If a doctor finds glucose in urine, it's a major red flag for a condition like diabetes. And that brings our little journey to an end. We've seen how these millions of tiny nephron factories are working tirelessly to keep you healthy, which really just leaves us with one final thought. What's the single best thing you can do, starting right now, to make their job easier and keep them running smoothly for years to come? Think about it. And good luck with your studies.